continue collecting, and remember, stay casual.
Welcome back, casual collectors, for another throwback review where we open up our vault, aka our closet, and review a figure that we never got the chance to do before. And for today's pick, it's going to be the Jada Toys Streetfighter 2 Ken.
So if you're interested in buying him, you can find him here. Alright, and then for some box details, we can see on the front here, Ken right there, the figure and everything that he comes with, along with a nice arcade looking style box. And if we go to the side, we can see some pretty good artwork of some fighters right there. And for the back, the figure and the rest of the line right there. And we go to the side again, same thing, some fighters and a nice little read up on the character himself. And for the top, nothing much, and for the bottom, nothing much again. Alright, and with that said, let's get him open.
Alright, and here is Ken out of the package, and man, he looks pretty cool. Although it does look very similar to Ryu, but that's always been the case. So, before we get into any more details on this guy, let's take a closer look at some of the accessories that he comes with. Alright, so here's all the accessories that come with Ken. Now we went ahead and removed the head, the gi, and the belt that was already attached to the figure, just to kind of give you a presentation of everything that comes with him. Alright, so first things first, let's go ahead and start with the effect that they give us. Now, like right away, this is basically exactly the same as the one that comes with Ryu. Obviously, the only difference is going to be the color of the effect. Ryu's was blue, and this one seems more like an actual fireball color, so with your yellow and orange translucent plastics, which look great, by the way. Nice sculpt on it, nice big size, and just like Ryu's, we can even see the hands inside. So if you're doing a picture from this angle here, you would look like you could see, well, if you're doing a picture from this angle, you can actually see the hands within the effect. So, and obviously down here, we can also see the little peg hole for the stand that comes with the effect to give it that hovering effect. Next thing, let's take a look at these head sculpts, and let's start with this one right here. And yeah, this is kind of his angry face, which looks great. Nice clean paint apps. You can see the teeth, you see the eyes, the pupils there. Everything looks pretty good on there. And then we get the hair here. Not anything crazy, but it definitely does look nice. A little sloppy on the plastic there, but not that big of a deal, and definitely not a deal breaker, but nice head sculpt. Next head sculpt here, we have more of his kind of like cocky face, you know, his smirking face, which again came out looking really nice. Definitely iconic Ken here, so pretty cool. Same hair sculpt, nice features on the face. It's got that cleft chin there. Next, let's take a look at the hands. We do get two sets of hands, and then we have these kind of open, almost grabbing hands, but these are going to be his fireball effect throwing hands, where he basically fires his Hadoken with these hands, so pretty cool. Nice sculpt, nothing too crazy. We can see fingernails, and they did a nice job on those, I don't know what you call those, maybe they're not mitts, but you know, not gloves either, but whatever those are officially called, there is some nice texture on these things, you can see there. Next set of hands, we're going to have our standard issue, or what should be standard issue, fisted hands, which again look really nice. Nothing fancy, but we do get them, which is great. And again, they added that texture on the top of the hand there for those pads or gloves or whatnot. And next we have here our stand, which is a clear stand, you can see there. It has a peg hole for this guy here, which we basically just peg that in place, and the fireball will actually peg into place right here. And it actually articulated as well, which is really nice. Now, unlike the Ryu one, the one that we got at least with Ryu, this felt very flimsy. This one feels a lot more solid, so here's hoping that it holds up, because the Ryu one did not survive the review. Next, we have the belt, and again, we consider this an accessory because it is removable, so there you go. Nice looking belt, very soft plastic there, and there is some sculpt, as you can see. Some lines, there's the knot, we have some texture in there as well. Next thing, we have the actual gi, same thing as the belt. We removed it and added to the accessories because it can be removed, and it definitely looks really nice. Nice shade there of red. We got some sculpted lines here, and we got some texture as well throughout the gi with some wrinkles. Looking really good. The only obscure thing is this flesh-colored knob here, which can look a little promiscuous when it's not on the correct way, or when it is on the correct way, I should say. And that's going to do it for all the accessories on Ken. However, before we move on to details, let's see what all this stuff looks like on the figure himself. Alright, here we have Ken with the gi and the belt on, and that looks great, as well as his fisted hands and that kind of smirking face, which looks amazing altogether. And here we have Ken with his anger face, as well as his Hadoken hands, and that looks great. Now, we didn't do such a good job getting that pose right, but you get the picture. And so, yep, here we have the effect there on the stand itself, and we can just kind of position it there, you know, while this thing floats in the air, or at least looks like it, to make it look like he's just firing this guy off. So pretty neat. Now, one more thing I wanted to show you guys. Technically, this is an accessory here. So inside the box, they gave us this kind of backdrop of Ken's stage. Even it's pixelated, as you can see. So very, very cool that they gave us this. I think this is pretty neat. And some people might actually want to display it within that. I mean, I think that looks great. Look at that. Now, I believe that all the Street Fighter figures come with this. I know that Ryu did, and that's the only one that we have open so far besides this Ken. So he definitely comes with one. So I think that's very cool that they give you this option to display your figure in if you wish. And that's going to do it for all the accessories on Ken. Alright, so let's look at some of the details here on Ken. Now, we've already covered the head, so we'll move on from there. Taking a look at the neck, we can see that there definitely is some sculpt there, which looks pretty freaking cool if you ask me. Some musculature and whatnot. And then we look down to the chest, and man, do they really go all out with that musculature. Look at that. A lot of different details there, so very neat. And then if we go further down, we can see that the gi is covering up most of the actual body, which we will remove that in just a sec, so we can take a look at some of the details underneath the gi. But we kind of covered the gi already. It's got that nice texture throughout the gi itself. We already covered that belt, which looks pretty cool. You can see there's sculpted lines there. Going over to the arms here, we can see that there's definitely musculature, and they use different shades of kind of that flesh tone right in between the muscle crevices to kind of make it pop out more. So definitely pretty cool that they did that. And other than musculature, we can see there more of that flesh tone, which looks great. There's the forearms. You can see some veins as well. Here we have these wristbands, or that there's part of these sparring gloves or whatnot. But yeah, moving on to the other side of the arm, same thing. We have some veins here on this bicep as well as musculature there, as you can see. So they did definitely do a good job on musculature and details on the skin. Here is the back of the figure, more of that texture on the gi. Here is the lower part of the figure and the back of the thighs. More of that texture, same with the bottom there and the calves, nothing too crazy of detail. Here is the front of the legs, same thing, more texture, nothing too crazy, and then just some wrinkle lines here at the bottom of the shins. Moving further down to the feet area here, we can see that he actually does have sculpted toes and toenails, with also some skeletal details there on his foot, which looks pretty cool. Going down to the bottom of the foot, we have a bare foot here, which doesn't really have a tread, but if you would put his foot on the floor on some kind of soft, you know, dirt or something, we'll leave a footprint, and we do get peg holes, so pretty cool. Let's go ahead and remove this gi and see what's underneath the gi itself. And bringing Ken back out here, we remove that gi in order to find that underneath it, there is a ton more sculpted musculature on the figure. And man, did they really pack it in there. Look at all that. And it's got that nice flesh tone throughout the body there. Here on the back, same thing, more musculature there on the back. Looking really good. And now we can actually see these butterfly joints that he does have. And that's going to do it for all the details on Ken. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into some articulation here with Ken, and let's go and start with the head. He can look up about that much, which is great, and he can look down about that much, which is also pretty good. You can turn left, you can turn right, you can go completely around, no issue, and he can also tilt his head. As you can see, he does have that head tilt, not bad. And let's see, does he have a pile driver motion? He does, as you can see there. And not only is he sitting on a ball peg, but also if you notice, that neck piece is separate, which also is on a ball peg, which definitely does help in aiding with the articulation here on the head. Definitely gives it more range for him to do more things, so pretty neat that they included that. Moving down to the arms here, his shoulders will go up to about that much, so just about a little bit above your standard T-pose, which is not too bad. And obviously the arms will spin completely around, as you can see there. And he does have butterfly joints, which will allow him to go in almost as if he's choking somebody or trying to mimic his trademark Hadouken to about. His butterfly joints will go into about that much, which isn't too bad at all, not too shabby. And they will go back, and they will go back to about that much. Better angle here. Moving over to the bicep here, he does have the bicep swivel, as you can see here, and he does have double jointed elbows that will allow him to go in to about that much. So pretty much already reaching his face there, so that is pretty neat. You can actually put his palm to his face there as if he was on the phone, so not too bad at all on the range of his double elbows. Moving further down to the hands, they can swivel, as you can see there, and they also have a hinge that will allow them to go up just like that and down just like that. Moving over to the torso area here, we can see that he's on a ball joint right up here. He's sitting there, which will allow him to kind of just rotate the upper body as so, and he can actually crunch down about that much, and he can crunch back about that much. Moving down to the waist area, he can swivel on the waist, as you can see there. And moving further down to the legs, he can actually kick forward a hell of a lot, as you can see there. And he can kick back also a hell of a lot, so not too bad. We can also see here on the legs that he does have upper thigh cuts, which allow his thighs to swivel, as you can see there. And he can do the splits. Well, yeah, he can do the splits, all right. Moving further down the legs, he does have double jointed knees, which will allow them to go back to about that much. Continuing on the legs here, he does not have a boot cut or calf swivel, but he does have ankle pivot, as you can see here, and his feet will kick down about that much, and they will kick up about that much, and there is no toe articulation. And that's going to do it for the articulation on Ken. All right, and Ken comes in here right at the 6-inch mark. All right, and now for some comparisons with other figures from the same line here, we have Ken next to Ryu, and I gotta say, they look great. Love those contrasts between that white and that red, and it's such an iconic team up, or I should say, versus or arch enemy or rival. For another comparison with other toy lines, here we have Ken next to the Jada Toys Mega Man. For another comparison with other toy lines, here we have Ken next to the Marvel Legends Retro Carded Deluxe Modular Iron Man, as well as the Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Cyclops. And for another comparison with other toy lines, here we have Ken next to the DC Multiverse Superman. And for another comparison with Marvel Legends, here we have Ken next to the Maximum Hulk. And for another comparison with other toy lines, here we have Ken next to the SH Figure Arts Super Saiyan Gohan. And for a last comparison with other toy lines, here we have the NECA Predator on the left, as well as the Mezco Logan. Alright, so final thoughts. Is he a cool looking figure? Yeah, he looks really cool, and they definitely nailed that Street Fighter 2 look, definitely. Along with the whole accessories, with the backgrounds, the box, the packaging, you name it. I think they nailed it perfectly. Now, price point, 25 bucks, that ain't too bad. Not too bad at all. And then articulation-wise, you know, I think he has everything that he needs. Maybe if those butterfly joints were a little better, you know, maybe just a tad bit more range, it would have been great. But he can still basically do the Hadouken stance, you know, so that's not too shabby at all. And you know what? Maybe instead of the fireball, you know, maybe it would have been great if we would have got an accessory for his hand to mimic his uppercut technique, you know? Or maybe they could have done that with the Player 2 series, but it didn't look like they did. They only did that with those, like, you know, exclusives where they added the extra additional accessories. But I think that would have been a great idea for their Player 2 line, because that way it would actually give you an incentive to want to buy them, you know? So for example, we could have like Guile, when they released him in the blue outfit, give us the blade kick accessory, you know? I think that would have been great. But it is what it is. It's still a great figure, and it looks good.
Yeah, I mean, the paint is there. It could have been a little bit more brighter, but I think it's good for the price itself. The accessories are good, but I think we could have gotten at least one more face, probably like a screaming head or something like that. But overall, the articulation is good. The paint is good. The accessories are good. Yeah.
All right, it's that time again, folks, for that rating. And as always, it's there on the left. And I'm going to have to give this guy a rating of...
My rating is going to be...
And that's going to do it for our review on the Jada Toys Street Fighter 2 Ken. I'm Steel Wolf.
And Spider Kid.
Continue collecting, and remember, stay casual.